joining us. It is Tuesday, May 2nd. I'm Amy Corr, and I'm here with Kevin Van Eck, and we are back at the Goose Island office.
That's right.
We had some really great feedback from last week's coffee, where we talked about filling your pipeline. So this morning, we want to take it a next step, and we want to talk a little bit about conversion. So fill up that coffee, and let's jump into the next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
That's right. So we did get an overwhelming response from last week's coffee, which was really cool because there were a lot of success stories about, reaching out, seeing people, and then that dialogue that you talked about last week when it comes to sharing the market and talking about what's going on. So we want to follow up with how you can follow up after that great conversation to make sure you lock down whatever their need is, that you become the go-to agent, you become their advisor, versus them continuing to search. So what can you do over the top to differentiate yourself and make sure once you have the opportunity, you lock it down? So we're each going to share one thing.
So one thing that's super important, it's great when you have a conversation with them, you're on the phone, text, email, you're in flow, but you also want to think about what happens when you are not in conversation with them, when they're thinking about whether or not they want to work with you. And this is where I want you to be thinking about your reviews online, real estate reviews. When they Google you, what do other people say and what have they posted about you? I've actually had agents who have had an incredible conversation with people in their pipeline. They get to the point where they're ready to make a decision. They decide to Google the agent. And I've actually had agents say, I actually lost the opportunity and they went with somebody else because when they looked me up online to see what others have said about working with me, they didn't find anything. So they would actually go with or decided to go with somebody who had a ton of reviews. So here's the thing, take the time now to take a look at your social profile. What are people saying about you online? What do your reviews look like? And if it doesn't look that great, that's okay. That just means that's what you need to focus on. Reaching out to past clients right now to make sure that you can get your social profile looking perfect. So as you're filling your pipeline and people are getting ready to make the decision, they check you out online and all they see are amazing 5 stars across the board.
That's right. Reviews aren't new, right? This isn't a new idea, but a lot of us are behind the 8 ball on this one.
Yeah.
Because we haven't focused on it and we haven't felt it was important. Everybody Googles everybody now.
Yeah. And you'll be so mad if you had such a great conversation, but they just are like, I kind of want to check out what the others are saying about them objectively, and then they go and see that there isn't anything on there about you. Big problem.
Yeah, and what happens, because I know a lot of times the reviews, the people that are most likely to leave reviews are the ones that maybe weren't so happy with what we did or the service, or maybe their expectations weren't set from the beginning. What do you do when you have a bad review on your profile?
I mean, and that's a tough one because that happens to us sometimes, right? Sometimes things don't go perfectly. Really, the best thing that you can do is to continue to get more reviews about how amazing you are. And then as you get more 5-star reviews, what ends up happening is that not so great review ends up getting ranked lower and kind of moves down to where it becomes a lot less significant. But that's why it's really important for you to even know what are people saying about you. What do your reviews look like? And making sure if there is something that's not so great, you can work on it. Reach out to those people that you worked with, who you did an extraordinary job with. Make sure they give you a review and you get that posted. So
that's great.
Over time, it'll end up pushing that other not so great review sort of to the bottom.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a way to handle it. So number 2 then, what would I do make sure we're prepared? I would do what Amy said. And then I would also do a couple things to follow up after that conversation. Number 1 being a handwritten note, right? If you have their address, which hopefully you do, send a handwritten note. And you should do that anytime you have a conversation or see somebody, if you met them for breakfast or dinner or lunch or drinks or whatever it might be. A thank you note, it was so good to see you. But more than that, have something at the ready. We talk about a pre-listing packet, we talk about a buyer packet, but also maybe a branding packet that you have. So it could be a branding book. So it could be something physical, a branding book that's about you or your team, something that's standalone that talks about what you provide, your process, and what you do, and testimonials and all of that. But it could also be something digital. It could be if, at Properties and Christie's International Real Estate, we have the digital listing presentation, which is great because it contains all of your success there. And then it could also be something digital, like a digital business card. So I'm thinking about Lookbook Link, which is a good one because it's interactive, it has videos, it has documents, it has all of your info, all of your social profiles. It's a good one. It's about $4 a month. So you can check that out. I think that's really cool to be able to send to somebody that's not salesy. And then the last piece is, I think physical. So make sure you do have that physical listing presentation or physical buyer book that you can pass along. And I guess the way that I would send it, either if it's with a handwritten note or I'm prefacing it with a text or an email or a phone call, after the first phone call, I would just say, hey, look, I know you're not necessarily looking now. I just wanted to give you something to preview to take a look at.
Yeah, I love that. I think the big message that I'm getting from you, though, really is think about it right now, so that when you get that prospect or you're working on your pipeline, and let's say you have 3 or 4 people, that you get to follow up with, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's overwhelming if you don't have all of these materials set and ready. You know, you can create templates ahead of time. You can pre-package what you're going to be dropping off, right? All of these things you can prepare so that when it is time to execute, it's really easy to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing is if you're a little slow now and you're trying to build your pipeline, think about these elements, your reviews, having your materials ready to go so that when somebody is interested in learning more, it isn't something you're freaking out about. It's pretty easy to get it together, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise you're not going to do it, right? At last minute you have a conversation if you don't have something prepared, or they're already Googling you, it's too late.
Yep, you're scrambling. So we hope that these 2 nuggets were really helpful to you as you're thinking about not just building your pipeline, but conversion, actually getting people to say yes when they're thinking about working with you. So make it a great Tuesday. Have an awesome week. We will see you next Tuesday, but until then, remember, you got this.